Welcome to the Universal Joint Podcast. I'm entertainment writer Jim Hill, and my co-host, Dustin Fuhs, and I are recording this podcast on Sunday, September 6, 2020, which is the day before Dustin's birthday. So happy early birthday, Dustin.
Oh, thank you.
Do you and Jill have plans? I mean, I know from when we were pre-gaming, you had plans until COVID-19 came along, right?
Yeah. What's the rules for 2020 birthdays? I think everything's just been put off until next year. So we're hoping to, get down to Florida. I had a really great reservation for my birthday, and then all of a sudden COVID happened. So yeah, we're seeing what will happen. I'm assuming it's just going to be the same thing that everybody else is doing: takeout and Netflix.
Well, okay. The folks at Disney aren't going to be happy to hear that. So maybe Mulan, hey, to pay that $29 premium.
Yeah, and we're a Universal show, so you can't not talk about Peacock TV. But I think we're all in the same boat, trying to figure out exactly what a celebration in 2020 actually looks like.
That is the question, isn't it? Anyway, folks, once again, it's been a while between shows, and why so long? Again, not Dustin's fault. Want to stress that right up front. Had some family stuff to deal with. My 88-year-old mom went into the hospital in late July with an intestinal thing, which meant that somebody had to watch my 88-year-old father, who had a quintuple bypass a few years ago and never fully recovered from that. So anyway, once mom got out of the hospital, it was kind of catch-up time, and I was able to get all the other shows at the Jim Hill Media Podcast up and running, with the notable exception of I Want That, because as it turns out, Shelley had her own medical issues, which she's now recovered from, and we're looking to record a new Disney merch podcast this coming week on Wednesday. But again, the problem was the one show I had trouble getting going again was Universal Joint. But again, that was my problem, not Dustin's. So what was my major malfunction here? Dustin, have you ever heard the joke about the guy who went on vacation and left his pet cat in the care of his idiot brother?
Oh no, I know where this is going.
Okay, here we go. All right. Classic Borscht Belt, folks. Saddle in. Okay, so this guy goes on vacation. And so he gets to his destination. He, just calls home to check in, see how things are going. And it's during this phone call that his idiot brother bursts out, "Your cat is dead." And as you might expect, the guy on vacation, huge cat lover, is immediately beside himself with grief. And but at the same time, he reams his idiot brother out for breaking this bad news in such an abrupt manner. And so the idiot brother asks this guy, "Well, if you had really bad news, how would you go about breaking it?" And the guy goes, "Well, look, when it comes to bad news, you want to break it to somebody gently, gradually. Like if it were me and if I had to break news like this to someone that their beloved cat had died, I'd start off that first phone call by saying, well, your cat's up on the roof and I can't get her down. And then the next time you call, it's like, well, the fire department is here now and they're trying to get the cat off the roof. And then the next time you call, it's like, well, the cat fell off the roof, or the fire department was trying to rescue it, but it's now at the veterinary hospital. And then finally, the next time you call, you go, I'm so sorry, I have some bad news. The people at the veterinary hospital did everything they could, but the injuries your cat suffered were just too severe. And sadly, it passed away. See, Rick, that's how you break bad news, slowly, gradually, so a person can get used to it. Got it? And the idiot brother goes, okay, got it. And so now the guy's like trying to move the conversation in a less awkward direction. So how's mom? And it's, again, kind of an awkward pause. And then the idiot brother blurts out, Mom's up on the roof and I can't get her down. So this is the thing of right now, Universal, tell me I'm wrong, Dustin. Like for 3 months, it's been this unending litany of that's closing. This is broken. That, we're making these cuts. There's layoffs. There's so much bad news. It was kind of, it was kind of hard to figure out where to start.
Yeah, like you and I both on our equal sides have so many emails in our draft folders of being like, okay, this is what's going on. We'll jump on and do a recording about this. And then that morning, something horrible would come up and we're like, okay, well, how do we make this not so it's just a negative show? Because there's negative news going out there, and we'll get into it, believe me. But there's always something that's next?
So a couple of ways we can go here, folks. We could either do the only good news, which if we're talking about Universal, that's 5 minutes, right? Just
a new donut.
There we go. Or we could rip the bandage off. Just take that Band-Aid, pull it off, and just do all of the bad news, get it all out of the way. However, folks, of two options, I have come up with a third. And the third is, what we're going to do is that Dustin and I will talk about the good news for the next, 5-10 minutes or thereabouts. Then we'll do a commercial break, and then we're just going to plunge straight into it. So if you don't want to hear any bad news about what's going on with the Universal Orlando Resort, you can bail out at that point. For now, I mean, Dustin, you found some really fun new stuff. Like, let's start with the masks.
Absolutely. Face masks, face coverings, whatever you call them. You basically have to be safe when you're in the theme parks. And one of the ways that Universal Orlando has brought the personality of a theme park into their merchandise lines is to release a set of masks that focus around various properties within the theme parks. So they've got the Universal Orlando logo, the classic retro logo, which, by the way, huge fan of. But they've also brought out a number of other options around franchises that are within the parks. You've got Trolls, you've got Minions, you've got all the Harry Potter houses. You also have Jurassic World and Jurassic Park. So that'll be really cool. I don't know where Jurassic World is. No one said anything yet. But it's actually really interesting. So you can head over to the Universal Orlando Resorts website, or you can pick them up when you get into the theme parks. They're all over the place. $6 or 4 for $20. So actually a pretty good deal.
Now, speaking of, you brought up Jurassic World, and remember, Jurassic World was only 4 weeks into production when it had to shut down in mid-March again because of COVID. They've since started up production. That's back. They're now shooting in the UK at Pinewood Studios with a ridiculously elaborate coronavirus detections system set up. That said, they were only 4 weeks into a 20-week-long shoot, and they still have a locked-in June 11th, 2021 release date. So, anyway, going to be interesting to see if they can get this in under the wire, because that's a really effects-heavy film, and these days with so many artists and animators and people who work in effects working remotely, things aren't moving at speed. There's a lot of jury rig stuff going on right now. So
yeah, and you're completely right about the release date. Do we know whether or not this movie will actually be coming in 2021? No one knows, because it's already September. We don't know what's going to happen between now and the time that the movie comes out. All the actors still have to go and do all of their promo stuff and everything like that.
Very, 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 very much so. But, okay. Now, we'll get to what happened with this year's Halloween Horror Night in the second half of today's show. But interesting thing is that we may not have our hard ticket event, but we do have the store. Which it seems like every time I turn around, there's something new going on in the Halloween Horror Nights tribute store at Universal Studios Florida.
Yeah, and for folks who have gotten the chance to go into it, it is not just a regular retail experience. You're talking about amazing props, lighting effects, sound effects, and things that are coming out constantly. As you said, there's new stuff all the time. For a Halloween Horror Nights fan, you want to get through this. For me, unfortunately, borders are still closed, so I can't quite make it down there. I'm living vicariously through all of our YouTube friends and folks who are in the parks. A lot of the Universal Orlando annual pass holders are giving great videos of this area. And I just got to say that some of the stuff in this thing from the... have you seen the molded pumpkins that are going in? So they have 3 different things, it looks like, and once again, I haven't been able to get in. They have pumpkins.
Oh, yes. Oh, God. That I am severely dating myself here. But, I remember seeing this sort of machine in the 1960s. In fact, I want to say Sinclair, as part of the New York World's Fair, did a traveling exhibit of full-size dinosaurs. And they actually had one of these machines on site, and it was made out of, again, you plunked your quarters into the machine, and then you got a brontosaurus, or excuse me, I'm dating myself again, and a apatosaurus, made out of durable wax, which, again, you're a small boy in the 1960s. I think made it as far as the car, before it broke. But yeah, no, they're very cool.
And I just wanted to give a quick shout out. The guys over at the Universal Orlando blog had a great walkthrough with Rob Cometti, who's the director of visual merchandising, and he basically said the most challenging element is topping each previous store. Because they tend to fall in love with every version, and trying to figure out new ways to enhance the experience while giving guests something new to look forward to is always a challenge. And that's something that's very unique, because Halloween Horror Nights changes every year. There's always a new theme. There's always a new style. There are new icons. Having a store, it's the way that they bring their creativity to life. And I'm so jealous of everyone who gets to go into this thing.
Well, and also remember, had it gone forward, this year would have been the 30th anniversary of Halloween Horror Nights. So you had a lot of, they were paying tribute to, the previous icons, as well as playing up the new houses. In fact, for me, it's interesting to see how they positioned the Beetlejuice props. So, what is it? The Beetlejuice as a snake is now selfie central, right? But speaking of previous icons, and again, get the whole resort getting in on what would have been the 30th anniversary. Have you seen what Voodoo Donuts is doing? The Jack Donut.
Oh, it looks amazing.
Don't get me wrong. I love me some Voodoo Donuts. But if I personally had to pick out the really terrifying donut on the menu there, it's the pumpkin spice. I mean, why do we have to have this much pumpkin spice? I didn't vote on this. I live in pumpkin country, and it just sort of like, okay, enough. The other day I was at the store, and they had pumpkin flavored Twinkies, and it's just sort of like, this is what keeps me up at night, the horrifying abomination of too much pumpkin spice. So
I'm sure that it's someone from the tourism board in New Hampshire being like, okay, we need something. People are coming here for the leaves.
Syrup. All right, we have
No,
leaves.
You don't. We have maple syrup.
Okay, well, and you have leaves that change color, right? Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, so yeah, we got things. We don't need pumpkin spice.
I agree.
Especially starting in August. So anyway, okay. So now again, we have sadly again, the big 30th anniversary Halloween Horror Night that was planned for Universal Orlando got tabled, but Japan, on the other hand, is moving forward in an interesting way.
Yeah, so it looks like Universal Studios Japan is going to be creating a new Halloween offering for 2020 for the new normal. That's directly from their official release. I'm like, I love that they're calling it the new normal. Universal Studios Japan Halloween celebration will be filled with safe, family-friendly entertainment, full of fun, hacha-mecha fun, from September 18th through until November the 8th. Looks like there's going to be, a lot of really cool, fun, safe things to do for the guests. There are parades and Halloween Horror Nights mazes that will not be held this year. So a lot of the work that they put into Halloween Horror Nights is not just falling on deaf ears and going away. They're going to bring back all of that creativity when it's safe. Now, it looks like we're going to be doing, Halloween characters, a lot of Halloween themed food and merchandise. What's very interesting is that Universal Studios Japan have incredibly popular characters characters like Minions and Sesame Street. So in the States, Sesame Street is up the street at SeaWorld, where in Universal Studios Japan, they have that license. So you get that opportunity to see full-fledged Halloween through characters that you may not see stateside.
Well, and it's interesting you bring up that, they have a different mix of IP there because, of course, stateside, Snoopy is it's the King's Dominion's park. It's like like Knott's. In fact, but what's fascinating is in fact, I think my daughter Alice just the other night was sending me. They've got some really cute Snoopy vampire stuff that I guess they're doing for this year's Halloween event at Universal Japan that I guess already a lot of the Peanuts fans are chasing after. But again, as you mentioned, it's interesting that they found a family-friendly way to do a Halloween horror-themed event. And speaking of which, Josh Cooley, the gentleman who directed, longtime Pixar vet, directed Toy Story 4. He's working on a new family-friendly project for Universal called Little Monsters. And this is going to be a live-action animated hybrid project. But the interesting thing is that the Little Monsters are going to be based on the classic Universal monsters from the 30s and the 40s. But the designs for these new juvenile creatures is being done by Crash McCreery, which if you know the Pirates of the Caribbean films, for example the Skeleton Pirates, that's all Crash. I mean he's just has this amazing skill for delivering memorable monsters, memorable creatures, and it's going to be interesting to see how he's going to hit that sweet spot between honoring the classic Universal monsters and delivering something family friendly. Burying the needle in the exact opposite direction, on the other hand, we have Blumhouse, which on the heels of their incredibly successful Invisible Man movie from earlier this year, they're now doing a Wolfman movie. And what's kind of interesting is they're doing a Wolfman movie with Ryan Gosling, who, Dustin, you may recall Guillermo del Toro at one point had sewed up to star in Disney's Haunted Mansion movie, which just in the past week we found out they're going in a different direction with that. They've got a new screenwriter, and Guillermo and Ryan are nowhere to be seen. So,
that's sad. I always really wanted to see Guillermo's take for the Haunted Mansion because he's such a fan.
He is. And the interesting thing is that I remember, in fact, I was actually at Comic-Con in the Disney presentation when they ran the teaser for his take on it, and when the audience saw the Hatbox Ghost, this was Hall H. There was this, this embarrassing geek noise from 6,000 people, like, can't wait to see that movie, and it's just sort of like, and this was before they had put they had the new Hatbox character in the attic, at least in California. But yeah, that's so. This is this is a new take on the Wolfman from 41 with Lon Chaney Jr. Also worth noting that it wasn't all that long ago that Universal did a reboot on Wolfman. Benicio del Toro, I want to say, starred in that one, and Joe Johnston of Rocketeer fame came in as came over the hill as the cavalry when that film kind of went off the rails, and stepped in as the director. So it's worth seeing. It's interesting they actually, if you watch the movie, Joe was enough of a fan of the film from 41 that the makeup is very, very heavily influenced by what Jack Pierce did with the original Wolfman makeup done. So it'll be interesting to see where they go from here. And speaking of going from here, folks, okay, we're going into a commercial, and when we come back out, bad news. All right, I'm just saying it. So, make your decisions, and hopefully we'll see you on the other side.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana lets you buy your next car on your terms. Explore a massive inventory online, filter for what matters, and find your perfect match. Then choose delivery to your home or pick it up at one of Carvana's iconic car vending machines. Every car also comes with a 7-day money-back guarantee, so you can make sure it's the right fit. Buy your car on Carvana. Delivery or pickup fees may apply. Limitations and exclusions may apply. See our 7-day return policy at Carvana.com.
Carvana.
Breathe deep. Imagine your legs more limber in Duluth Trading Double Flex Denim. Envision euphorically squatting for that can of suds, bending for your toolbox in a state of bliss, lunging for your laser level on a whole new level. Relax and allow the flex to fill you with ability. Find your inner flex in Double Flex Denim only at Duluth Trading.
And we're back. All right.
So you've made your disclosure.
Yep.
Anyone who's here can't get mad at us because it's gonna be some bad news.
But it's not all bad news. I want to stress that because there's been some interesting, fun stuff. Some positive things that have happened. But let's face it, the story really starts in mid-March of this year when, Disney and Universal, being responsible corporations, decided to shut down their theme parks while, just everybody kind of got a handle on, well, how are we going to handle, Corona? How do we make this go away? But 2 months in, Universal decides, it's time to get back to work. So what was it? May 15th, we had City Walk open. And then I want to say like 3 weeks later, we had on June 5th, Universal Parks and Resorts opens its Central Florida theme parks for the first time since mid-March. And I want to say Volcano Bay opens in that same window of time. And I know we talked about this on a previous show, Dustin, but it was significant that, it's really less than 2 weeks later that we get the announcement on June 23rd that the Universal Orlando Resort is laying off an undisclosed number of team members. There's Tom Schroeder, nice guy, I really like Tom. Releases a statement that says, "We have made the difficult decision to reduce our park and resorts workforce across multiple locations and business units. This decision was not made lightly, but was necessary to prepare us for the future. We are working to structure and strengthen our business for the future in anticipation of the tourism industry taking time to fully recover." So what's your take on that decision? What happened between the 5th and the 23rd?
That basically shows me that on June 5th, when Universal reopened, they got lighter than expected crowds. The conversation on social media and on blogs and YouTube was basically saying that we don't know whether or not it's safe to go in. We love the idea of a theme park, an escape from reality, but it may not be safe right now for us to go in. And I think what Universal said is, we're going to keep the parks open, but we know that it's impossible for us to staff our theme parks at the same level pre-COVID as right now in June.
Okay, I think that's a pretty solid take on what happened. But the interesting thing is 1 week later, we get the Bourne Stuntacular opening. And, everyone raves about that, wonderful, new indoor stunt show. Now, mind you, it does have the handicap of, again, we're in COVID. So, okay, you can only get, half, if that, of the number of people you normally want to get into that show, have to do social distancing in the theater. But again, this is a company that is still focused on the future. So July 9th, construction of the yet to officially be, I love this about Universal, that, here's all this steel, all this concrete in the ground, and it's like, what coaster? I have no idea what you're talking about. But yes, the Jurassic Park themed coaster, which again, we've heard from a bunch of sources, the Velocicoaster.
Yeah, we were one of the ones that found the trademark on the Velocicoaster, and we're like, we don't know what this is. But then as soon as you look into the fine print of those lovely trademark reports, they tend to disclose a lot. So, yeah.
Okay, so anyway, July 9th, they actually put the last piece of track, or the highest piece of track, in place. So that in effect, this project tops out. You know, and in fact, they what's particularly the giveaway is that in fact there were all these images online of the Raptor themed flag that they draped off of the highest piece of steel.
Yeah,
So-
when you plant your flag in something that says Jurassic Park, you're kind of letting the cat out of the bag.
You know, and again, so it's wonderful to have this ride to look forward to, I'm assuming, for 2021. But conversely, on July 24th, we got the announcement that this year's Halloween Horror Nights, which you and I just talked about at the front of the show, 30th anniversary edition, highly anticipated, supposed to be, more than 30 dates, I wanted to say, between September 30th and November 1st.
Yeah, it was going to be a record number of dates. It was going to be basically all the Halloween Horror Nights, the anticipation just combined. Everyone was excited for it. It was going to be incredible to see the icons from the past coming in with new and unique styles.
And so that's why when we got this announcement that Universal Orlando Resort and Universal Studios Hollywood have made the difficult decision to not hold Halloween Horror Night events this year. Universal Orlando Resort will be focusing exclusively on operating its theme park for daytime guests using the enhanced health and safety procedures already in place, whereas Universal Studios Hollywood continues to face growing business restrictions and uncertainty about its opening time frame. And that's still going on, but we'll get to that later. Okay, this brings us to July 27th, which, by the way, this is when Gabrielle Rousson of the Orlando Sentinel wrote an amazing article about the that lawsuit that's been going on in relation to of Universal's Volcano Bay. There's one slide in particular, Dustin, I'm blanking the name.
Yeah, the Punga Racers water slide.
Yeah, that's been problematic since day one. And remember, this park has only been open since May of 2017. So, you know, we're 3 years in, if that. I mean, if you count them being closed since March or thereabouts. But yeah, that depending on, you know, which article you read or who you talk to, there's been 90 people to 115 different people injured riding on this thing.
Yeah, we're talking scrapes, nosebleeds, concussions, whiplash. Yeah, it looks like it's one heck of a ride.
Yeah. But again, Gabriel did an amazing job. Be sure and check that article out, folks. All right. So, and a moment ago, we were talking about, you know, how sad it was that Halloween Horror Nights had been canceled. But the interesting thing is, Universal had ordered all of this merch. So it's like, okay, event canceled, stores still open. So, and you had talked at the, you know, at the top of the show, Dustin, about the Halloween Horror Nights tribute store, which, you know, opened on July 25th at Universal Studios Florida. And I have to admit, I'm just kind of intrigued at that. Again, they keep seemingly every time I turn around, there's something new. There's some sort of Easter egg that somebody's just discovered, or a new room that's opened up.
Yep, new rooms, new merch. They've got the printed T-shirt where you choose your design and then they print the shirt while you're waiting. They've got some really cool stuff. And as I said, you have to try and get through this. I know that it's not a replacement, but as a Halloween Horror Nights fan and knowing that Halloween Horror Nights isn't happening in 2020, having this store is a great way to just express your fondness for the event and also look forward to what's going on next year.
Yeah, and, you know, certainly, you know, for those of us who've loved the event for, you know, all of these decades, the fact that you get to take stuff home that, you know, from maybe your favorite year of the show, worthwhile. We jump ahead to July 29th, where, you know, the Universal Orlando Resort announces that starting in August, they're going to change their operating hours. And what's kind of interesting is that the parks had both been on a 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. schedule. Where starting in August, Universal Studios Florida would go to a 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. schedule, whereas Islands would sort of go to a 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. schedule. And
maybe they're doing the whole Epcot thing where they're not going to open Future World and World Showcase at the same time because everyone starts in Future World and then eventually meanders their way to the back of the park. Maybe that's their thoughts with having the studios open before Islands of Adventure. I don't know. That's an idea.
Oh, no. That's the good, positive spin on what's happening here. Whereas at the very next day, July 30th, Comcast, the parent company of Universal Parks and Resorts, they released their second quarter earnings results. And the revenue that Comcast Theme Parks and Resorts division generated for that quarter fell off by 94% from the same period in 2019. So we're talking $87 million versus the nearly $1.5 billion from the previous year. And, so clearly, again, when you look at that, what just happened with the hours, it's like, okay, we need to react here. We need to send the right message to our corporate masters that we're being responsible. Speaking of which, though, during the same call with investors, NBC Universal CEO Jeff Shell announced that Universal Parks and Resorts would be pausing development of Epic Universe, that $6 billion project, which was originally supposed to open on 2023 on 750 acres of land along Sand Lake and Kirkman Road. And what basically Jeff said was this project is on pause till our future becomes more certain. And what I find fascinating about this, Dustin, is, okay, we have the CEO saying this on July 30th. And yet, if you've been listening to what Len and I have been talking about on the last two Disney Dish shows, there's been this slew of surveys that Universal has sent out that clearly are mining for information that they can then use to refine the Epic Universe plans. And I can't help but wonder if they're about to make another run at the board with maybe a trimmed down version of the park, to the effect of, okay, we pared it back to the stuff that people really, really, really want.
Yeah.
And, and we've crept in our construction number. But again, that COVID isn't going to be here forever. And if we want to be, competitive in this market, especially with the certain mouse that lives up the street, we need to, we can't wait. We've already prepped the land. We need to move forward.
Yeah, and Len brought up a really good point that on paper it's 750 acres of land, but that's the theme park mixed in with parking, mixed in with the hotel, mixed in with all of the infrastructure. So there are certain construction timelines that have to be met before you can go on to the next domino. So it makes sense that we're looking at something like, yes, $6 billion is a lot, in NBC Universal dollars, but we're also looking at what's going to come in the future post COVID, because it's not going to be around forever, and you want to be ahead of the game.
I agree. Okay, so again, we have this earnings call.
Yep.
On the 30th, and again 94% drop in earnings. So July 31st. First of all, Universal Orlando announces, as of August 9th, temporarily closing certain attractions at its two Florida theme parks. So Universal Florida side, we lose a day in the park with Barney. We lose Kang and Kodo's Twirl and Hurl. We lose Fear Factor Live, which we were going to lose anyway, had they done Halloween Horror Night. But the one that really had to hurt was Fast and Furious Supercharged. I mean, that thing's only been open 2 years, if that.
I loved how honest you were on the show with Len, because anyone who's ridden that attraction, there is no surprise here.
Yeah.
Out of all of the rides and shows at Universal Studios Florida to close, that's a pretty easy decision.
Yeah, but it's one of these things where it's like, how do you tell the studio, who's got two more, Fast and Furious films teed up? It's like, that cross-promotional thing ain't working out. On the other hand, over at Islands, we lost Stormforce Celatron.
Yep.
And also Poseidon's Fury, which, geez, if you think about it, we just lost Sinbad's the eighth voyage of Sinbad a year or so back. So it's just sort of like, that whole side of the park now is what?
Mythos?
Yeah, it gets the restaurant and a couple of booths selling stuff before you go up the hill to Harry Potter.
So the countdown's on until whatever is coming into that plot of land, which if you do the Google Maps straight down look, it's a fairly substantial amount of land. It's not as much as you think. So if you are interested in kind of that area, Poseidon's Fury, Sinbad's, just do that search. You'll see what we're talking about.
Exact same day. Universal Orlando Resorts announces a second round of layoffs. Again, Tom Schroeder has a difficult job, but makes a statement to the effect of, "We have again made the difficult decision to reduce our workforce to reflect current priorities and needs. As always, we are aware of the impact that this will have on those affected by this decision and their families." But at the same time, understanding that they still need to keep the lights on, this is when they announced their buy-a-day ticket. And I gotta, it's one of these things. It's like this one. If I lived down in Florida, I would have taken advantage of in a heartbeat. It's
Absolutely.
Yeah, for the cost of a one day but two park ticket, which I want to say is $169 or thereabouts. You got the right to return to Universal Studios and Universal Islands Adventure multiple times between August 1st and December 24th. Many times as you want during that time. Conditions, though. Ticket has to be purchased by September 30th. And if you wanted to also throw in Volcano Bay with that, there was an additional $29 upcharge, which I got it within inches of $200. Also, sorry for folks like myself and Dustin who live far away, but this offer is only available to Florida residents, and you had to produce a valid photo ID for the state of Florida before you'd be allowed to purchase. So,
and not just a library card. No. That doesn't work. I've tried.
Yeah, that. So, all right. Okay, we now push into August, and on August 14th, the Universal Orlando Resort announces that on August 21st, the Lowe's Sapphire Falls Resort and Universal Aventura Hotel will temporarily close. A Lowe's hotel spokesman says, "We are continuing to evaluate our offerings and have decided to consolidate our hotel operations as we manage through current conditions." And I mean, you get why they closed those two hotels, right?
Oh, absolutely. Especially if you're looking at the offer that was made by Universal, basically saying that we are attracting Florida residents. Most Florida residents live within a couple hours drive of Universal. So coming in and doing a day trip is a lot easier, which also means you're dealing with the, heads and beds. If you can't fill a resort because of travel restrictions, like the closing of borders or the issue of, airports and that kind of thing, it makes sense to consolidate your efforts, consolidate your staff, and know that on the other side of COVID, we'll reopen. But for the time being, you can't have a fully staffed hotel with a 5% occupancy.
No, it makes perfect sense. Also, though, to stress the obvious, Aventura and Sapphire Falls are so intertwined. I mean, they share the same parking structure and a lot of back of the house stuff. It was when they were going over the hotels that they could take down relatively easily. That those two came to mind. On a far lighter note, in fact, I have to admit, again, I live in the country. I love looking out the window here and seeing the red-tailed hawk that lives around here fly around. And I have to admit, I enjoyed. I think was it BioReconstruct who first noticed the osprey that was building the nest at the top of the Velociraptor?
Yeah, he got some great photos, and I know that since then we've had a lot of bloggers and vloggers and professional, theme park journalists going in and getting some great views of these adorable little birds who are not really little.
No, they are not. And the interesting thing is that the female osprey started building her nest, and Universal crept in and discreetly cleared out the nest, and then suddenly it's Mr. and Mrs. Osprey who are working together to build a nest, and so Universal once again goes to the top of the track and puts up a blue tarp and wraps it around the nest site, and forgetting that ospreys have these giant claws, and so they just basically tore through the blue plastic tarp and started rebuilding their nest. And this went on for about a week to 10 days, and Universal, was desperately trying to figure out how to handle this because the osprey is, I want to stress here, it's not on the endangered species list, but it is protected by the U.S. Migratory Bird Treaty Act. So it was, it's one of these things where you actually have to file a permit to remove an unused nest. And it was one of these things where it's like, well, look, they're building it. It's clearly used. But it's like, but it's at the top of a roller coaster.
Yeah, but it's going to be called the Velocicoaster, and velociraptors are a raptor. So maybe they're saying, you know what, possession is 9/10 of the law.
Could well be. Anyway, as I understand it, it turns out there are, if you go right across the road from Universal at the old Dr. Phillips High School setup, there are actually nest boxes set up on light poles and that sort of thing that they put there deliberately with the hope that ospreys would use them. And I guess over time they were able to persuade Mr. and Mrs. Osprey to, Dr. Phillips, much quieter. You're very less likely that your chicks will get hit by a roller coaster.
Yeah, but no butterbeer. So, it's all about location.
This is true. All right. Anyway, so I was enjoying that. But okay, we jump ahead to August 18th. And this is when, again, an interesting sort of companion to the one-day multiple visit ticket, we got Universal shifting to a date-based price model for its theme park tickets, which you who follow Disney so closely, Dustin, know that Disney switched to a similar system, back in October of 2018?
Yep, and it took a little bit of time to get used to, but at the end of the day, having a date-based pricing model for theme parks when you're dealing with folks coming in from out of town and knowing that there's busy days and lighter days, like we're going to talk about soon, it makes more sense to know when to, put attraction discounts for certain days out there. So, yeah, this wasn't a big shock. It was a shock that it came when it did, but it wasn't a shock that Universal Orlando wanted to go that route.
And speaking of shocking, on this exact same day, Ron Meyer, the vice chairman of NBC Universal, gentleman who's been with the company for 25 years, done some really great things, abruptly resigns. Turns out that years ago, he had an extramarital affair that seems to have left Ron exposed to possible blackmail. In fact, if you want to go digging around in the trades, Hollywood Reporter or Variety, there's an allegation that certain individuals in the entertainment industry, and we're not talking about key grips or, guys who work lights, but like directors, were supposedly using this information to potentially extort Mr. Meyer with the idea that he would then greenlight Universal making these persons' movies. Mm-hmm. He brought this to the attention of the board. The board decided, appreciated him being forthright about this situation, but at the same time, he hadn't, he was making them aware well after the fact. And so they requested his resignation. He did so, and this is now under investigation. But in a summer full of difficulties, the company didn't need this black eye.
Yeah.
But again, for theme park fans, this moves quickly into the rearview mirror because on August 21st, this is when the Beetlejuice Room debuts at the Halloween Horror Night Tribute Store at Universal Studios Florida. And have you been able to find out whether or not any of these props that have showed up, were they going to be part of the Beetlejuice maze, or?
I every time I looked at the Beetlejuice Room, I'm like, okay, how much is coming from the Broadway show?
Oh, interesting point. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see a Beetlejuice Halloween Horror Nights maze or experience, and when they made the announcement to cancel Halloween Horror Nights for 2020 to reuse or at least put those themed elements out into the store along with the merchandise, just makes sense. But part of me really wanted the Broadway show to have a little bit more of a, hey, we're not going to ever run the show ever again, but here's some of the props. Go and enjoy your time at Universal Studios Florida.
I don't know. I want to say, wasn't it Warner Theatrical that did the Broadway show? Oh, I'll have to look into that. But no, I have to admit, again, I think we talked about the snakehead on the stairs selfie that everyone seemed to really responding to, because it's seen everywhere. But anyway, so that's August 21st, and on August 22nd, which, let's face it, when it's August 22nd, you can see the end of summer. It's looming. Which is why it was kind of interesting on this day, Universal's Volcano Bay water park, or water theme park, excuse me. That they really want you to say.
The third gate. It's a theme park.
Yep. They said that as of September 8th, which is 2 days after we record this show, Dustin, Volcano Bay will then start closing on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And Universal Resort officials announced they were making these changes due to our operational needs and fall travel trends.
Interesting.
Yeah, so...
Well, it makes sense. Operationally, if you were to have a water park that's operating 5 days a week, you can just give your staff the other 2 days off, and you don't have to have two shifts going. You can just have people working 5 days. Now, Volcano Bay is always an interesting thing, especially now going into the off-season. October, November, December, there's a lot less of a crowd, lot less of a demand for water parks. And it's why Disney closes Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon right after each other to do that preventative maintenance. So maybe they'll have that time to really focus on the cleanliness and, just look after the crowds. But I don't know. We'll see what's going to happen. I know that just recently, Volcano Bay kind of hit capacity. So
yeah, that's true. Okay, we were just talking about raptors hanging out at the new coaster that's being constructed at Islands of Adventure on August 25th. In a canny bit of let's give folks who live on social media something to look at. Did you see the whole thing of them rolling the raptor statue into the park?
In the middle of the day.
Yeah.
If you're going to do something like this, I am shocked that they didn't put a hashtag on the tail.
Oh, no.
Know who your audience is. It just was shocking. But I do want to point out that it's a statue. It didn't look like it was an audio animatronic. Which means that it's going to be placed in a scene or two within the ride where they're going to be, probably some lighting and sound effects, but it's not a audio animatronic. They don't look like they're actually moving.
Well, now, speaking of which, again, want to give credit to the amazing Bio Reconstruct and his flyovers of the park, but he not only caught when they had it on the crane and they were lowering it into the park. But what he noticed once they had it in position, that it's actually one of two raptor statues that there was already.
Oh yeah, this wasn't the first one.
Yeah.
This will be really interesting. I wonder which one it was. Was it blue? Was it alpha?
He's wrapped in saran. So I do not know, but
It was a Saranaraptor. I had to. See?
Wow, that is in the dad book. Dad joke book. That's upper pages. Okay, so. And again, I have to admit, in a summer full of bad publicity and tough breaks, it was wonderful to see this news explode. And people, that looks great, and I really want to get on that ride. And it was nice to have Universal have a nice story for once. But then the very next day, August 26th, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis sits down with representatives of Disney and Universal, and he clearly wants to be able to position the reopening of Central Florida's theme parks as if it's one of his big successes when it comes to the way that Florida has handled COVID-19. In fact, Ron goes on to say that he supports the idea that Disney Universal increase the coronavirus-related capacity of their theme parks and increase the number of guests that are allowed to come to these parks each day. And it's just sort of like, the fact that, again, I don't want to get started on Ron DeSantis other than want to hit that guy with a polo mallet.
But wow, that news did not age well.
No, it did not, because 2 days later, on August 28th, the Lowe's Hotel Company, which, again, they run the hotels at the Universal Orlando Resort. So technically they employ a good number of the folks who work at the Universal Orlando Resort, though they are Lowe's employees.
Yep, and they're amazing people. When we were there with the Universal Joint podcast event last year, we had great experiences with them.
Absolutely,
and
good people.
This is one of those things that comes out with this news, is that they are people. Yeah. And I know that we look at these huge numbers and we're like, okay, that's a lot of people. But as soon as you have made that, relationship with them, you're like, okay, this person isn't going to be here anymore. And that's when it becomes more real.
To explain, Lowe's sends a letter on the 20th to Orange County Mayor Jerry Demings and Orlando Mayor Buddy Dwyer, and says that they are considering layoffs of more than 1,900 employees that work at the Universal Orlando Resort. And to break this down for you folks, we're talking about 475 employees at Portofino, 457 at Sapphire Falls, 311 at Royal Pacific, 256 at the brand new Endless Summer Dockside, 200 at the Hard Rock, 191 at the Aventura, 176 at the Lakewood Support. These are the folks who do, the towels, the sheets, the stuff that all the hotels use. Mm-hmm. Then 164 at Cabana Bay, and finally 76 at the Endless Summer Surfside. And want to stress here, this is the third set of layoffs at Universal since June 23rd of this year. So. But what makes me crazy is you make that announcement, and okay, Dustin, talk about what you saw just yesterday coming out of Universal Orlando Resort.
Yeah, let's be honest. I couldn't have cringed any harder when I was looking at the photos and the videos and keeping track of social media and people basically sharing their experiences that they're seeing firsthand from going into Universal Orlando Resort, be it at the studios, Islands of Adventure, or the water theme park, Volcano Bay. I, as someone who am trying to stay within a social circle and be more cognizant about the realities of COVID, it made me uncomfortable. But it was less about that and more about just seeing how many people were packed into this theme park. And I understand that there are capacity issues. They both all three of them actually hit capacity by early morning. It was a state mandated capacity. It wasn't Universal's capacity. It was something that the state looked at and said, hey, this is how much it's safe. But yeah, I was just shocked at the photos and the videos coming out. You saw some of the videos and the photos, right?
I did. I mean, but look, see, the problem is I have to admit, again, in a good news, bad news situation, it's like, again, the fact that these parks have been doing such low capacity, they've been letting these employees go, the fact that, and again, it fits the historical patterns. They've always had busy times
Yes.
on these, long 3-day weekends, Labor Day weekend, Columbus Day weekend, Veterans Day weekend, that sort of thing.
Yeah, any of those 3-day weekends when you work in a theme park or any sort of tourism endeavor, though, that's when you make your money. That's when you have those conversations with the people and just be like, you know what? I work in tourism. You guys enjoy your long weekends and this type of thing. We're going to be there helping, you lighten the load of your wallet.
But but at the same time, the very thing you were talking about, looking at the imagery, and now mind you, I want to stress here, I saw, I didn't see a whole lot of people not wearing masks. I saw a lot of people wearing masks, but they were very, very close together.
And I saw a lot of people come out and kind of do the pinpoint of, oh, that person wasn't and that person wasn't. There's a difference between what Disney has done with their mask policy and Universal has done with their mask policy, by way of when you're walking around with a drink. At Disney, you have to be in a specific area. At Universal, you can walk with a drink, bring your mask down, drink, and then put it back up. Every photo is a split-second moment. So just keep that in mind. I have seen a lot of demonization of individuals, and it's like, guys, just take a step back. But what I tried to figure out with this is people who were there having fun at a theme park. I love that idea. An escape, an idea of like, okay, we don't have to be stuck to the news. We're able to go and get a butterbeer. We're able to go and get, some merch, go and have a great meal. I don't know that I could be in that environment just as a theme park fan, being like, I don't know, there's just too many people.
Yeah, I have to admit, again, don't get me wrong, I have so many friends who work at these parks and work for these corporations. The fact that this many people turned up, which means that that they made money, and hopefully that means they can, the letter that Lowe's sent. Maybe this means that few people will lose their jobs, but it's just sort of. But at the same time, I can't ignore the fact that again, September 8th arrives in 2 days, and that's when that's when Volcano Bay goes to its, not open on Tuesday, Thursday schedule. And we already saw, the parks creeping in their hours from, opening at, or closing at 6 to opening at 5 or closing at 5 and opening at 10 a.m.
Yep. And there is something to be said about the folks who are going to the parks midweek. Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday, enjoy. I saw a video the other day, midday, the wait time for the Hogwarts Express was 35 minutes. The wait time for Hagrid's was 15. So just enjoy, know when people are going to the theme parks. If you're able to, don't go on the weekends.
Now, again, I'm just hoping that a number of, Florida locals are taking advantage of that, that buy one day, get the rest of the year free ticket, because certainly, they could take advantage of the midweek lack of crowds and get in there and really enjoy the parks. And
then maybe they'll enjoy the potential of upgrading to an annual pass next year. And then you get more perks. You saw that there's a Universal Orlando annual pass holder lounge that's opened up inside of the Jurassic Park Discovery Center.
Oh, I did not. Okay. Well,
yeah, so they've opened up downstairs where they used to have all those interactive exhibits. Like, as long as we can have people come into the parks and safely enjoy the hard work that's being put in there, awesome. And I'm sure that going forward on the next show, we'll talk about how the September 8th day comes and what happens. I'm hoping no more layoffs. I'm hoping just let's stay the course, see what happens.
Well, but until we record that new show, which will be in 2 weeks, folks, I promise. Where can they find you elsewhere online, Dustin?
So I'm over at Steps to Magic pre-COVID. Disney and universal trip planning advice. I'm just enjoying the time to, really think about what trip planning and what Universal and Disney are going to look like after COVID. So that's where I am. But I know you've been cranking out all of your episodes. It's been such a nice distraction from the real world.
Well, just that. But again, that I'm just glad to finally get this one back up on the board because I think Universal does so much good work. But yeah, we've had regular episodes of Disney Dish, Fine Tuning with Drew Taylor, even Mud with Aaron Adams, the gentleman who edits a lot of the podcasts here. Looking at Lucasfilm, just recently we talked about George Lucas's Red Tails, and as I mentioned, we're going to get a new I Want That out the door this week. Knock wood. Anyway, folks, tell you what, if you could do Dustin and I a favor, head over to iTunes and rate and recommend not only I Like Theme Parks, but also the show you're listening to right now, Universal Joint. That would be incredibly helpful. And by the way, if you really, really like what we've done here, if you get over to Bandcamp and subscribe, well, that helps keep the lights on. And let's see. If folks are looking to follow you on social media, Dustin, where might they find you?
Yeah, I'm over at Dustin Fuhs on Instagram, Steps to Magic, Instagram, Facebook, everywhere. We're all on social media. If something's going on, we're going to let you know.
Okay, cool. And Nancy wants me to remind you that Jim Hill Media side, if you want to find us on Twitter or Instagram, it's Jim Hill Media. And if you want to find us on Facebook, it's Jim Hill Media News. Anyway, folks, I'm sorry to have to cut this short, but the phone is ringing, and evidently my brother has some news about my mom up on the roof. So I got to go, but we will be back with a brand new show in 2 weeks' time. Until then, thanks for listening.